Okay. Let's see, let's see. Alright, so if you guys can see me and hear me, let me know. Can you see me? Can you hear me? Let me know. Because we got a whole new camera setup right now. Whole new setup happening. So probably need to do some troubleshooting in the beginning. So let me know how it sounds and how it looks. Well, let me see, I got it streaming right here. Let me see if I can hear myself. Setup happening. Oh, looks like I can hear myself, so that's good. Hey guys. Can see, can't hear. Excellent. Excellent. Can see, can't hear, can see, can't hear. Someone says the volume is a bit low. I can adjust the volume. Definitely can do that. Sound is very good. Hello, hello everyone. Hey, how's it going, guys? So, yeah, I thought I would come on here and stream. The point of this stream is there's not really a concrete point, just to hang out with you guys and show you guys some books. Now, I figured that I would do like a series of live streams just going through my library and just like going through different books, what I think about all of them. I don't think I'd be able to get through all of the books in like one stream, so I'm not gonna try to. I'm just gonna like pick some. I have some already picked out, but I'm just gonna pick some and talk about them, and talk about some books that I've read recently because I've read a few books recently. A couple good, a couple bad, and I just want to talk about all that stuff. So I figured that'd be fun. How's everybody doing? Someone says, "Oh, I love the style today. Thank you." Nunia says, "Thanks for inspiring my Netflix series. What's your Netflix series?" Someone says, "Yes, Narnia was actually written as both a response to Asimov, Wheel of Time, and as a spiritual prequel to the Silmarillion." Interesting. I had no idea. I don't know a lot about Narnia. I do have a copy of it. I did read some of it when I was a kid, but I don't know a lot about Narnia. What's my favorite board game? I mean, I like Monopoly. Monopoly is a good one. I mean, I can't go wrong with Monopoly. Yes, this is the globe. This is my globe. It's kind of a new addition to this room. And yes, there is like a bar in there. Pretty cool. Now let's see. Have you read The Engines of God? Worst book I've ever read. Interesting. I was looking for. I guess we could kind of start with a bad book. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it. Um, but I guess I've told you guys this before. So when I was in like high school, I think I liked Dan Brown a lot. Right, the Da Vinci Code, The Lost Symbol. Like I was really into those for some reason. It doesn't take that long, reading a few of those before you realize that they're all the same story essentially, over and over again. But definitely the worst out of the bunch is this one called Origin, and it has a kind of a sci-fi kind of spin on it, I guess. And it's definitely it uses the most tropey, cliche science fiction ideas, and I always thought that if I ever was gonna like make a video talking about one of the worst books that I've ever read, Dan Brown's Origin would be on the list because it's so not good and it relies so heavily on every single science fiction trope that you've ever heard before, which is pretty ridiculous. Someone says, "Thank you for introducing me to Blindsight." Well, thank you for watching my videos. All right, let's get started. Let me see if I can have the chat like going on my phone so I can see what you guys are saying. Because I do have a couple books sitting by my side that I wanted to talk about. First, thank you so much for your super chat, Steven, as well. All right. All right, so I wanted to talk about this, right? So this is, let's see if I can focus. Focus. This is Galactic North by Alistair Reynolds, right? And I guess I can get up and be librarian. I'm going to talk louder so you guys can hear me, right? Right, so you have the main series. You guys can't see these books, but up here, you've got the main Revelation space books, right? So the main Revelation space books are Revelation Space, Chasm City, Redemption Arc, and Absolution Gap. And huge, epic, fun saga in space. It's a huge, huge space opera, and it's a lot of fun and epic. But the reason I'm recommending Galactic North, focus. The reason I'm recommending Galactic North is because it is a book of short stories that are set in the Revelation Space universe. And the reason I love short stories so much is because with a short story, you kind of don't have to invest in like a whole giant thing. You can just go in and kind of like have a piece of something. So this is full of a lot of really good short stories. One of my favorite ones is Dilation Sleep, and that one's all about time dilation, right? You have like it's about the psychological effects of time of a long-term space travel and the concept of time dilation, right? Because when I did my Forever War video, someone on Patreon asked if I knew other stories about time dilation, and that is one of them, and that is found in this book. Now, another really good one inside of this book, another really good short story, is Nightingale. And Nightingale is super interesting, super creepy. It's about like kind of our reliance on, I guess, AI. And in Nightingale, you basically have this crew going to this derelict hospital ship to kind of, I think, gather or acquire some form of information. But then they realize that the AI on board has been driven mad by the Conjoiner war that's going on. Because in the Revelation Space Series, there's this whole bigger war that's kind of the backdrop to everything that's happening. So there's this Conjoiner Demarchist war that's happening that's driven the AI insane because it was supposed to kind of like take care of everybody. If anybody gets hurt, this AI was designed to help and heal anybody on both sides of the war. But somehow the ethical dilemmas of the war bled into its programming and it kind of changed. And it started doing weird experiments on people and doing grotesque things and torture. It's one of those types of stories. So like in the story, you got the crew of the ship that are investigating, I guess, trying to like evade the rogue AI and like get off of the ship. So that's a fun one. That's just like another like quick story set in the Revelation Space universe. And then I think probably the best short story in this particular book has to be the title story, which is Galactic North, the story that I guess it's titled for. And Galactic North is a cool story if you enjoy, I guess, stories about humanity over a long period of time. So think Children of Time. If you read Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, the human side of that story, you have humans are they're on kind of what is essentially a generational ship, and time is moving on, and people are born and living and dying. That's essentially what's happening in Galactic North. It's about these people over the course of a couple hundred years on this journey through outer space. And I, in particular, love this kind of story, just because I like to see how things evolve over time. And I think it takes a really talented writer to kind of speculate on those things and write about, time passing. That's also a big element of the Three Body Problem series that I really love. So if you kind of have shorter patience, like I do sometimes, I highly recommend Alistair Reynolds' Galactic North as a set of short stories because you don't have to invest in a whole thing. I guess, now I will say this, you probably would have an easier time getting all of this if you had already read the Revelation Space series, so definitely if you've read it, read Galactic North. But I still think you could potentially read this and not know anything about it, right? I think it'd be fine just to go in and dive in. Because you'll pick up things along the way, and I think that can be fun as well. Galactic North. Highly, highly recommend. Hello, Carl Karsnark. How's it going? Everybody's in here. Everybody's in here. Yeah. Someone says, have you read the indie sci-fi comic Humanity Lost? Everyone tells me to, but I have not yet. Let's see, what am I going to get into next? Because I'm working on a new video, by the way. As always, I'm always working on a new video. And this new video is essentially about how the same stories are told over and over and over again throughout history. And each time the way they're told is informed by, is influenced and informed by the time period they come out of. So we're going to be having a video pretty soon on Who Goes There by John Campbell. And if you don't know, this is the book that John Carpenter's The Thing is based off. But it's not quite that simple, because this book itself, in my personal opinion, took a lot of inspiration from H.P. Lovecraft, At the Mountains of Madness, obviously. So yeah, that's what the video is about. It's about like the inspiration behind this story and what this story actually means. But to talk about this book in particular, I would say that the main element that's different between this one and At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft is the element of paranoia that exists, right? I think paranoia is some part of At the Mountains of Madness by H.P. Lovecraft, but it's not the centerpiece. The centerpiece of that story is a fear of the unknown and kind of like a wariness to explore the unknown regions of the world. But this has obviously the element of Antarctica. It obviously has the element of finding an alien life form frozen in the ice. It has all of that, but at the center of it is paranoia, because you don't know who this thing is at any point in time. And then, of course, the author of this book is John W. Campbell. And then, of course, you know, like you got in the 80s, you got John Carpenter taking that idea and expanding on it even more, but it started here. He injected the sense of the paranoia. So in the video, I'm trying to figure out why. I break down why the Lovecraft story is the way it is, why Lovecraft worked with the themes that he worked with, and then I move on to this book and I start talking about why this particular book adds the theme of paranoia. And it is obviously because of the echoes of World War II that were brewing at the time. You know, you had like the Spanish Civil War, which, you know, you had Soviet Union and Nazi Germany all fighting each other, using it as a proxy, using the Spanish Civil War as a proxy war, you know, to practice these like things, as basically a precursor to what would eventually play out on the world stage in World War II, right? So I guess the sense in the United States at the time when this book was written is that there was this there were these ideologies that Americans didn't understand, that they were afraid of spreading. So there was a great sense of, we don't know who to trust. That's why you don't know who the thing is really at any point in time. You don't really know who to trust. So that's the idea behind Who Goes There. And I think it's a pretty gripping story, and it's interesting to see how it evolves over time. Because I also am going to cover in this video Beyond the Rift by Peter Watts, because there is a short story in this one called The Things. And The Things is a more modern retelling of Who Goes There slash The Things by slash The Thing by John Carpenter. It's a retelling, but it's from the creature's perspective, which is epic, absolutely epic that it's from the creature's perspective, because it gives an entirely new spin on the whole thing. So you got H.P. Lovecraft afraid of exploration. You've got John Campbell paranoid. You've got John Carpenter who's even more paranoid, and then obviously at the end of the John Carpenter movie, it's ambiguous. You don't know where the creature is because it was the 80s and we didn't know where the Cold War was going. And then you got Peter Watts that's taking the same idea and inverting it and putting it from the creature's perspective, which is just phenomenal. This is what writing is for. This is what authors do, I think. So the purpose of this video, which you guys will see in the coming weeks, is how much the time that we are existing in informs the stories that are written in that time. And that is key, that is crucial. It always happens. It's never not happening. So, you know, that's why I feel like, I think we got to watch ourselves too when we're like, oh, like they're updating this story for the time, then that's a bad thing. I don't necessarily, I feel like my opinion on that is changing, because it always happens. And there's millions of examples, not just in media, not just in movies and TV, but in books as well. So yeah, you guys can look forward to that in the future. Oh, and I was also reading The Culture of Fear by Barry Glassner, right? So this has helped me on that video because it's teaching me about like kind of the culture and where America's head was at the time that Who Goes There, such a paranoid book, was written. Thank you for your super chat, Balsa. Where's my phone? So I can see what's happening. Awesome videos. You've got me interested in sci-fi. I hope you do more themed live streams in the future. Definitely will. Definitely will. Someone says The Things is available on YouTube. That's epic. Definitely listen to it if you like live streams. The Things, nice creepy read, because I do think that the story is attempting to make us humanize the creature and to put us in the perspective of the creature, but at the same time the creature is still creepy because of what it does and the fact that the nature of how it interacts with other life forms I guess kind of antithetical to how we exist, because it's a creature that is kind of amorphous and it changes all the time and it's always evolving. And then humans are creatures that are kind of adverse to evolving. We don't like to change, and so it's very confused by that, and just the way it thinks and is very interesting and creepy. Okay, okay. So let's see what we're going to go to next. I think. Okay, so we talked about Origin, Dan Brown in the beginning as an example of what not to read. Let's. I got another book here that is in my category of let's not read this. And this is. I think some people are. I think people like this book, which is difficult for me because I don't like talking about things that people like, because people get passionate and spirited about things that they like. But this is one that I read. It took me a couple days to read. It was super simply written. Um, but I just didn't like it for a number of reasons, and that has to be this one. This book. There you go. Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, right? So this is super, super popular right now. There's like an Apple TV show, and I did watch some of the Apple TV show. I didn't get finished with it because, you get the point in the book. Like I feel like 50 pages in, you get like the point. Um, but then it just keeps going, and it's not long at all, and yet it's somehow tedious. So this book is about someone builds a Schrodinger's cat box. A guy gets kidnapped from his life by a version of himself from 15 years ago that wants to take his life. And then he ends up on this crazy journey through the variances of the multiverse, trying to get back to his perfect reality, trying to get back to his wife. But at the same time that he's doing that, he's constantly splitting off into all of these different realities and different versions of himself, and eventually all of the versions of himself are all going after the same woman. It's at the center of it. It's a story about this guy who really really loves his wife and he really wants to get back to her, but you get that very 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 early on. You get the point, but it just keeps going. And but like I said, it's so short and yet so tedious. Not for me. That's my personal take. It wasn't for me, and I didn't particularly think that the sci-fi ideas in it were particularly intriguing or particularly well thought out. Like I said, they were super simple. I think this is a book maybe for someone that hasn't read that much science fiction, right? So if you're not like exposed to that much, then you might like this. And that sounds mean. I hope this is not sounding mean. I just didn't like this one. I just didn't like this one as much. I thought it was a little silly. I thought he could have gone a little bit further with the concept. And I thought the ending was definitely, like, to me, a fizzle. A huge fizzle. Like, I definitely didn't understand. I don't want to spoil it for anybody that wants to read it, but it was a little bit of a fizzle for me. I definitely didn't fully get what it was trying to say by the end when there was just, like, a million of him. But yeah, that's that one. That's on my don't read list. That's on my wouldn't cover on Quinn's ideas list, right? But I guess I had fun reading it in the sense that have fun watching something that it doesn't have to be deep all the time, right? So that is Blake Crouch. Um, that is Blake Crouch, Dark Matter, and I have not read any other Blake Crouch, by the way. Let's see what we got going on in the chat. Yes. It is an Apple TV show, and maybe um, what I was noticing watching the TV show is that the TV show definitely added a lot. The TV show version of the book had a lot more scenes with the alternate version of him, The TV show version had a lot more scenes with the wife, Demi Moore. It added in like a whole thing about his son having a twin. Yeah, they definitely like added a bunch in the TV show because the book is doesn't have much. The book is not like you can make 10 episodes out of this. So like I got maybe like halfway through the TV show and I noticed they were adding a bunch of stuff, but at the same, it still I think suffers from the same basic problem as the book, where it's just I just don't really care very much for the main guy. I don't know. I don't know. Noctis says, I am start at Death's End right now, Quinn. Just finished the other two audiobooks. Epic, epic, epic. Death's End is an epic novel by Shishin Lil that completes his Free Body Problem trilogy. All right, let's get to another book to talk about. Like, what do we have, like, right here? So, here's one. I've actually done a video about this one. I hope that, yeah. So, this is one that, I still don't ever hear that many people talking about, right? You guys have heard of this one, maybe, if you've seen the Quinn's Ideas video. I have two videos on this. I have like a 15-minute video on just one single concept, and then I have like an hour-long video on the entire trilogy. So this is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. And I always recommend this to anybody that likes the work of Lovecraft, because why is the EA app opening on this computer? To anyone that likes the work of Lovecraft, because I see this as kind of like a modern take on H.P. Lovecraft. It's a modern take, but it's not like a lot of stuff where it's just copying H.P. Lovecraft. It's not at all. It's got some of the same concepts. It's got the cosmic horror, but it's its own thing. And Annihilation is a part of the Area X trilogy. They did make a movie a few years ago starring Natalie Portman, I believe. The movie is very different from the book. The movie is just the first book, basically, and it doesn't have any of the stuff from the other two, which I think is kind of essential to even beginning to understand what is happening in this series. So essentially in this series you have an area on the coast that has become affected by something truly alien, right? Truly alien. It's incomprehensible. You can't really understand it, but it is changing the area around it, and this area it has been labeled Area X. And there is a kind of barrier, if you can call it that. There is definitely something that you cross through when you enter into it, but it's kind of indescribable. But it affects the life, anything that is alive in the area. It changes it, whether you're a person, a plant, an animal. It takes things and mixes them around, and it clearly has some kind of task or goal that isn't working quite properly because it was never meant to interact with whatever we are. So I really like Jeff Vandermeer, and I really like this particular series. I did pick up another book of his that I got in paperback that I have not read yet. It's right behind me somewhere. I'll go get it later. But yeah, this one, Annihilation, if you have not looked into it, freaking good. Truly, truly freaking good. And creepy. This guy has got that element of body horror that's there. I definitely appreciate that. Looks like I got a super chat from Knight. Thank you so much. Knight says, love your videos. Have you read Canticle for Lebowitz? No, I have not. I have not. King T-Rex says, now that you've covered Forever War, will you cover any other military sci-fi? Well, some people have been asking for Starship Troopers, which, that's a potential one. I would need to reread it again. Because anytime I mention Starship Troopers, people are saying like that it's one of those that is kind of like heavily misunderstood. So I think I need to look at Starship Troopers with more adult eyes and just try and figure it out myself before I even talk about it or like look into it anymore. So yeah, maybe Starship Troopers in the beginning. Maybe we'll get to that one. Now, let's see. So before we get to more books, I did want to react to the new Dune, the Prophecy trailer. Now, I have not seen it. So, Yeah, we're gonna open that up and we're gonna react to it because there is a new Dune TV show that is going to be on HBO, and yeah, it's somewhat based off of Sisterhood of Dune by Brian Herbert, which I probably need to reread again because I'm kind of like loose on the details of what happened in that entire trilogy of books. I probably need to reread those again to see so I can be able to compare it to the TV show when it comes out. But I'm pretty sure they're changing a lot about that. So, but anyway, we're gonna watch this trailer to Dune the Prophecy, and we're gonna see what it looks like. We looked at the first one not too long ago, and it didn't look horrible. It did not look horrible because I've definitely been apprehensive about the whole thing. So we're gonna add that to the stage. Okay. Let's see what this is like.
You wish to serve the great houses and shape the flow of power. You must first exert power over yourself.
Can you guys hear that? How does that sound? Can you guys hear that? Is it echoing? I just want to make sure there's no like weird, crazy distortions in sound. I will say, first of all, the visuals look really good. The visuals looked good in the last trailer. They look good in this trailer. So yeah, just to say that. Looking good. I'm excited about like the way it looks.
You wish to serve the great houses and shape the flow of power. You must first exert power over yourself.
The more influence our sisterhood gains,
That Wallach 9.
the more enemies we make.
There was a time when you took my news seriously. Instead of allowing those sorceresses to rule you.
Sorceresses of Rossic.
Sisterhood, they hide in your camp. And do I
Oh,
think
she's
for us.
creepy. Harkonnen and Benny Gesserit.
Pleased with the levers of power. But yet our grasp on it is still fragile. I am trying to protect the Imperium.
I'm just gonna pause it real quick because I know Warner Brothers likes to block anything that I use the trailer on, and I usually have to go through a whole thing with them. But this trailer, I will say, looks less like Villeneuve than the other one, right? Because I feel like the other trailer they were showing a lot that looked, I think, closer to the Villeneuve stuff, but this looks, it's beginning to look more distinct. It's beginning to look more distinct.
Sacrifices must be made.
Wow, she is going to be interesting to watch. All right. Okay. Let's see what we're doing. All right. So I feel like I have the same opinion that I had the first trailer, which is it looks fine, it looks good, it looks like it's gonna be fun, it looks like they put effort into it. So I just gotta watch it to see what it's like. I just gotta watch it to see what it's like because I have no idea. You just gotta watch it. Gotta watch it. And I definitely will be watching it. And I think I'll probably just review every episode. If it's gonna be like a week by week thing, I'll probably just like stream or put out like a 15-minute video reviewing every episode or something. Or maybe I'll do like 2 or 3 at a time. We'll see how it works out. We will see how it works out. What did jump to next? God, there's so many books. I had a few like sitting over here, but there's so many. Oh, this is what I'm reading now. I'll show you what I just started. I just started this one. Has anybody read this? I don't know what this is gonna be about. I don't know what this is gonna be about, but like intrigued so far. Like I'm only like a few chapters in, and like there's this city where no technology works, kind of, and you got this guy who doesn't remember his past, and he's headed to this city for some reason, and like no radio signals get in, like nothing works in this city, and yeah, he's headed there, and this book is like 800 pages, so like I guess I'm in for like a big epic journey, but that's what I'm reading right now. I'm gonna walk over here and see what I can pull off the shelf and talk about. That's interesting. I can't remember if I've talked about this book before. I'm pretty sure I have, but I'm talking about it again because this is a great book. This is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. Definitely worth the read. And heck, I say watch the Wachowski movie too because I feel like it, for what it is, it's pretty good. I mean, this is a book that people thought was absolutely unadaptable, and it's not fully sci-fi completely, but there is a storyline in it that takes place in the far future, and you've got all these like you've got like these clones. It's kind of like a Blade Runner future essentially. Really good one. It's about like how all these. It's about different people throughout time that share souls and are reincarnated that do different things. It's about repaying karma. Really good book. I highly recommend it. I recommend that one for sure. Someone says everything is adaptable. Everything. I'm not really sure about everything being adaptable. I think a lot of stuff is adaptable, but not everything. Not everything. What else do we got over here? I'm sure you guys have seen. I remember where my camera is. I'm sure you guys have heard of this book right here. This is another Peter Watts Blindsight. You got some people on a spaceship in outer space, alone with a vampire, and they're trying to communicate with this weird object in space that might not even actually be conscious, but is somehow able to pilot a ship, and it's very freaking creepy. I've done a video on this one, so it's likely you guys have already heard of it. Let's see. The Dreaming Void by Peter F. Hamilton is a great opening to another pretty epic, pretty cool, and trippy space opera. So you have this black hole at the center of the galaxy, and somehow a signal comes out of it, and that's kind of what this series is all. It's wrapped around that initial like idea. So the Dreaming Void is a pretty good one if you're interested in starting like a new space opera series. Do you like Red Rising, Quinn? I've actually never read Red Rising. Here we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and recommend H.G. Wells in general. I feel like it's kind of dumb to recommend H.G. Wells. I mean, everyone knows that he's like a staple in science fiction. But I guess I've been a little bit more interested in H.G. Wells and Jules Verne as of late, just because of some of the research that I've been doing. Particularly Jules Verne. I don't know where my Jules Verne. There's some Jules Verne somewhere, but when it comes to going back to H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, that's part of the inspiration behind that as well, because it was Jules Verne had these, adventure stories, essentially adventure stories. So I think that At the Mountains of Madness is just kind of a part of a legacy of adventure stories, but it's with the other, it's kind of with the opposite purpose. Whereas like in the Jules Verne stories, it's like, yes, explore, it's great. But when it comes to H.P. Lovecraft, it's like, oh, explore at your own peril. It's going to be horrible. So yeah. But I love H.G. Wells because, I don't know, it's just cool to see like the roots of science fiction before some of the tropes that we're super familiar with got started. And it's cool to see like the origin of some of these tropes and these stories. Invisible Man, Time Machine's really good, obviously. And then War of the Worlds is one of the most famous sci-fi stories of all time. Moving on. I know what's next. Let me put this one back. Let's see. Here we go. Alan Moore's Jerusalem. So, I don't think you can call this sci-fi. This is a little bit of everything. You know what I mean? It's, this is Alan Moore. You know, the guy that did Watchmen. You know, he did Promethea, From Hell, V for Vendetta, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Like, he's extremely prolific comic book author. And this is his, this is one of his novels. He only has like 2 novels, but this is thick, as you can see. And full disclosure, I have not finished reading this. I've tried to get through it like several times, but like I'm now like I'm about halfway through it at this point. You know, this is almost 1,300 pages long, but let me tell you what it's about. Let me tell you what it's about. So, it's Alan Moore's weird take on the afterlife. You know, he what the soul is. There's time travel. There's stuff like beyond time. There's like fairies and angels. It's concerned with like eschatology. You know, it's concerned with like the soul. It's concerned with like what's the final place of humanity. There's this saying that keeps popping up in the book. Justice above the streets of this higher Jerusalem. And you know, it's just really, really interesting. I mean, it's just really interesting, and it's a lot to wrap your head around. Like, for instance, like there's characters that will dream about things happening, and in their dreams they will encounter other characters, but you might not read that chapter from the other character's perspective until like 200 pages later. I don't know. It's a huge like sweeping narrative that is like super confusing and difficult to get through, but it's pretty fulfilling and rewarding getting through it. I don't know. I feel like I'm working my way through it and having a lot of fun with like trying to figure out like what everything is, because it's one of those things where everything is so meticulously placed that you're probably going to have an easier time understanding what's happening reading it again, which is crazy because it's so long. But I feel like it's one of those books where every single line that you read means something and it relates to something else in the book. Really, really interesting. And it takes a lot of, I think, numinous ideas and, like I said, eschatological ideas, and tries to kind of make them make sense. Like it's like it almost feels like this is the most probable solution for what the afterlife is. Like, if there actually was an afterlife, this seems somehow right. It's just the way that he talks about like consciousness and dreams and just all of it just seems like if it existed, this is what it would be. And going hand in hand with this is his classic graphic novel, From Hell. Now, this one's not science fiction at all, except for like one line, and except for maybe the ending if you kind of maybe think about it. But From Hell is about Jack the Ripper, and but it's Alan Moore's crazy, insane take on Jack the Ripper, and it's like nothing you've ever heard, because Alan Moore, like I said, is concerned with the esoteric. And there's a couple parts in this book where someone says, what is the fourth dimension? And I think that in Alan Moore's, check out this art on the back too. I think in Alan Moore's like whole thing, like the fourth dimension is time. So you have Jack the Ripper. What he's doing is he's trying to, I don't know, live for eternity, affect time through causing change in the physical world by killing these women. And in the end of the book, he projects himself into the fourth dimension through time. It's wild stuff. I don't really know what to make of it. I read this year, and I was definitely taken away by it. But I feel like I need to read it again to even understand what he was trying to say with this story. I mean, I obviously understand some of the things. I mean, I've always been interested in Jack the Ripper and what he was all about, but this isn't necessarily about Jack the Ripper and more about what it's more about what Alan Moore thinks Jack the Ripper represents for humanity. There's a great line in this where Jack the Ripper, and I'm saying Jack the Ripper because I don't want to spoil who Alan Moore thinks that Jack the Ripper is, because that's kind of what this is about too. He says, "They will say that I gave birth to the 21st century," which is just like, whoa, what the hell? Because he kind of did, man. You know what I mean? Like Jack the Ripper was I mean, I don't know. I just think about like the 24-hour like news cycle and how people are obsessed with true crime now. I feel like Jack the Ripper was one of the first things of that type. That's maybe not true, but I get that sense in my mind. But yeah, it's almost like because Alan Moore is interested in the esoteric and kind of like magic or whatever. It's almost like I think that this character Jack the Ripper in this book was killing these women to do some kind of dark magic, and it almost succeeds in the end, but it doesn't for a specific reason, and I don't want to like spoil it in case somebody wants to read it. But yeah, maybe one day I'll try and tackle Alan Moore's like weird collected universe, I think, with Jerusalem and From Hell and Voices of Fire too. Maybe one day I'll get into all of that, but like it's a lot. But yeah, this is what I've been challenging my brain with recently. Really getting into Alan Moore. He's such a wild ride. He's such a wild author. He's insane. Let's see what everyone's saying in the chat. If I can find my phone. I don't know where my phone is. Help me find my phone. Live. Is it here? Oh, there it is. It was underneath the books. Okay, let's see. Let's see what everyone's saying. Get into the live chat. Oh, someone says, sorry, Alan Moore also did a Lovecraft comic, Providence. I'm glad you mentioned that. Thanks for mentioning that. Thanks for mentioning that. Okay. So there is Providence, yes. This is a Lovecraft-inspired comic by Alan Moore, and you should totally check it out. I'm gonna be honest, I got these a little while ago, and I have not made my way through them because I'm waiting for Halloween. I like to read this type of stuff on Halloween, but I have peeked at the art. I've heard great things about these books. Alan Moore is definitely, in my opinion, a worthy author to write in Lovecraft's universe, or to write a Lovecraftian type story. So definitely check these out. I have not read them yet, like I said, but I'm sure they're going to be good. I'm going to have a lot of fun this Halloween season. I'm going to have a lot of fun this Halloween season reading these, because I love reading horror comics and short stories on Halloween. I eat short stories on Halloween time. Like I was saying earlier, the reason I love short stories so much is because you can read one in like a couple hours, sometimes in like 30 minutes you can finish a short story, and it's like just so good. Like I love that Stephen King releases a book of short stories like almost every year, because every Halloween I feel like I got a whole thing of scary short stories to read, and it's great. But definitely check out Providence, Alan Moore, and Necronomicon, which is, I think, prequel. It's either the first one or it's the sequel, but yeah. Providence. I saw someone ask in the chat if I would ever do a Locke and Key deep dive. Is AK here? What's up, AK? Carl Karsnark is here. AK is here. Jackie C is here. What is up, all the people in the house? Okay, all the people in the house. In a little bit too, guys, we'll talk about Rebel Moon a little bit. I did watch the director's cut of Rebel Moon. I had never seen any of it before, so we'll talk about that in a while. But let me not forget what I was going to do. We were going to talk about Locke and Key. Someone asked me about Locke and Key. So, when years and years and years and years ago, when I was first recommended this series, I think I like looked at it, I like looked at the art, and I was like, I don't like this art style. This seems like it's made for like teenagers or kids. And I was just like so like down about it. I was like down on it, and I like read the first few like issues of it, and I thought this isn't that good. It's so overrated. And then it got going. And then I got into it. And then I like just accepted it. And once it got going, and once you get into the characters, and once you get into the backstory of Key House, or is it Key House or Lock House? I forget. Oh, it's actually Lovecraft Manor, isn't it? I think it's Lovecraft Manor, but they also call it Key House. I don't remember. But anyway, don't deny yourself a great story. Like Lock and Key is just phenomenal, right? It's kind of, I feel like, you got Stranger Things, which I feel like is an example of a kind of a genre of things, but I feel like the Stranger Things is kind of like the worst variety of this type of thing, right? Where you have like young people that are tasked with like, with dealing with things from like the other world, and it's something that older people don't understand. I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. All I'm saying is like this is a great freaking series. You got these kids that move back into Lock House after their dad tragically is killed. And they discover these keys, and each key has a different ability, has a different power, but they don't realize what they're dealing with. And there's also other entities at work that obviously want this power. And there's like a Lovecraftian angle, and it's really, 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 really good once it gets going, right? But I feel like there is a good amount of setup. There is a good amount of getting to know the characters before it like really gets into like what makes it super good. So I definitely see like books 2 and 3 over there as like the best. Oh yeah, and this is also Stephen King's son, who goes by Joe Hill, right? When he first came out, no one knew he was Stephen King's son. It's just like, Joe Hill, who's this? So yeah, he beat the nepotism accusations with this one. And I actually have a lot of Joe Hill stuff. If you like horror, he's not a hack, right? It's not just like, oh, this is Stephen King's son, and he's just famous because he's Stephen King's son. That's not it. Like Joe Hill has some great stories in comic book form, and also Nosferatu is great, and I think that he has some stuff that I haven't read where like him and Stephen King's universes kind of collide. So I'm pretty sure Doctor Sleep has some references to some Joe Hill stuff, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so yeah, Lock and Key is something that maybe I would talk about on the channel. I think I might have mentioned Lock and Key in one of the Halloween specials, if I'm not mistaken. All right, let me get to these super chats that I've missed, because I know that I have missed some. I'm going to pull them up. Okay. Andrew Bat says, a year in that nursing facility recovering from a coma. It's finally behind me. I'm back at home and finally free. Content like yours kept me sane. Thank you so much, Andrew. Thanks for watching. Jason P says, do you like Warhammer? I've tried to get into some Warhammer stuff. I don't hate it. I just haven't. There's just so much. It's so much. It's hard to know like where to start, what to read next, or just like yeah. It's a lot to be into, so I can't really say that I actually am into it. Jason P also says, do you like Warhammer? What do you think about the SCP series? What is your all-time favorite sci-fi work? Which world would you want to live in? These are all very hard questions. Hyperion pre the fall of the hegemony seems pretty awesome, right? The Culture, Ian Banks Culture series, it's over there in the corner. That'd be great to live in. I mean, the robots take care of you, and it's essentially a paradise, so that'd be great. All-time favorite sci-fi work, Frank Herbert's Dune is pretty high up there. I think Hyperion is pretty high up there for me. So those two, and SCP series. Now, I haven't really gotten into that as much. Now, are those books? Like, what's the deal with the SCP? Are those books? Because I thought that was just kind of like a website or something where people kind of posted almost like creepypasta. Thank you for your super chat. Even Star C says, have you read Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir? That's the guy that wrote The Martian, I believe, right? Oh no. Get back, Moorcock. You're never gonna believe what I got from Barnes & Noble the other day. Yeah, I have not read it. I just saw it at Barnes & Noble and I was like, huh, sounds pretty cool. So I will be reading it. Do you like it? Because I'm gonna be reading it soon. Probably when I finish this freaking 800-page beast of a book. Okay, next super chat. Luke is Peter Watts being an edgelord with the type of characters he chooses to create, or is he giving representation to dysfunctional, traumatized, neurodivergent people? I refer mostly to Starfish. That's an interesting question. I think I lean more towards the representation to dysfunctional slash traumatized neurodivergent people, because I don't think he's acting with malice, and I don't know. Peter Watts doesn't give me the impression of being like an edgelord, so I don't really think so. I don't think so. But thanks for your super chat. And Harpy says, thanks for answering my inquiry. Would love a series on it. Thank you for your super chat. And thank you, Ellie, for your super sticker. And Maximilian says, culture is downright the best universe to live in. What are your thoughts on the Dark Tower series? I love Dark Tower. I think Dark Tower is super fun if you are a fan of Stephen King and his wider universe. If you don't know a lot about Stephen King and all the stuff that's going on in this wider universe, you're going to be very confused. Like after like book like 5, you're going to be like, what is going on? I like Dark Tower. It's really good. I mean, if you get it, if you accept it for what it is, if you accept that it's going to be this big genre hopping thing, you're never going to be situated in any particular genre. You're going to have to jump around a lot. Sometimes you're going to be focusing more on these characters. Sometimes you're going to be focusing on other characters. You got to accept that it's both fantasy and sci-fi and horror. You're going to have to accept that it's going to be a bit meta at times. You're going to have to accept a little bit of ambiguity. You're going to have to accept like not knowing a lot. So the Dark Tower is a pretty big investment. Jerry Caleb says, is a Samuel Delany video coming? Maybe. We gotta see how I feel about Dhalgren, because I'm just now starting to get into some of his work, because Samuel L. Delany is so respected by a lot of people that I really like, right? William Gibson really respects him. Brian K. Vaughan wrote a whole character into Saga that's based off of Samuel R. Delany. So yeah, I want to learn more about him, and I think that could be fun. So yeah, I've gotten some of his books. I've gotten some of them, and I'm gonna like go through his catalog of work, yeah, and give it some attention. Okay, everyone's saying we don't talk about the Dark Tower movie. You want to know what's funny? I was gonna say I read that movie. I watched that movie semi recently. I had never seen it, and someone wanted to show it to me, and good God, what a terrible movie. Like what a truly like awful film. It's like this it's so bad that it shouldn't have been made. And then if I remember correctly, it ends like weird, almost like let's do a sequel, and then it's like no, let's not do a sequel. This has always been my opinion, right? You can adapt something, but when you adapt something, it needs to have the original spirit of the original thing. And that's just an example of something that does not have the original spirit. It's like they didn't care. They didn't care. And it's not like the Dark Tower was something that would be, it's not like that's an easy thing to adapt, but there should have been more care gone into this. And also, don't make it a movie. Why are you trying to do Dark Tower as a movie? I think that's just kind of dumb. Like the Dark Tower is a series. It's a series. It needs to be a TV show. You gotta. It's a huge, epic thing. Like one movie is never gonna be good enough. Yeah, absolutely, Sergio. Waste of Idris Elba, right? Absolute waste. Waste of everybody in the movie. I don't. I mean, I don't hate Matthew McConaughey, right? He's a great actor, but just wasted. So it's like the Rings of Power. Someone says. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Yeah, great cast. Terrible movie. Yeah, waste of the whole cast. Absolutely agree. Uh, let's see what next. Let me. Okay, I did want to. Okay, so we've been talking about a lot of different books. Let me pull out something that I recently read because Quinn's Ideas started off as a fantasy YouTube channel, right? We started off doing a Song of Ice and Fire. We sprinkle some other fantasies here and there, but weirdly, when I started this channel, I was at the point in my life where I was starting to read more science fiction books, right? I read a lot of fantasy growing up, like in middle school, elementary school, high school, like my entire life. Loved, loved, loved fantasy, so I read a lot of it. By the time this channel was starting up, even though I was covering like a Song of Ice and Fire and doing fantasy stuff, I was really into, so I was getting into sci-fi, so that's why like you see such a sharp pivot over to sci-fi. But recently, I had the pleasure of reading a fantasy series that I had never read before, and bam! Look at this! Look at this giant thing! Look at this! Get it to focus. Focus, damn you! The Books of Earthsea. Like my hands are shaking trying to hold it up. Heavy, heavy, heavy. I read this mostly on the Kindle, but yeah, The Books of Earthsea. Man, Ursula K. Le Guin was also known for sci-fi. Yeah. So Ursula K. Le Guin, she's also known for sci-fi. She's famous for The Left Hand of Darkness, The Dispossessed. But I had never read Earthsea, like her other really super famous fantasy series. And man was this good. Man was I taken by surprise. Man did I not expect to like be so into it. But it was just great to be back in a well thought out fantasy world, right? It was great to follow like the main character, Ged, on his like journey into becoming like a sorcerer. I love the magic system was really cool. Just the world building was really cool, and the characters were diverse and interesting. Just a great journey. I don't know. I think I really, really missed epic fantasy. I really missed it. And also, this one has talking dragons, which I love talking dragons. I feel like everyone's obsessed with mean, scary dragons now. All dragons in TV shows are mean and scary now, and like we don't do talking dragons anymore. So it was nice and refreshing to see kind of like a witty talking dragon again. I just really loved it. Cool. Particularly the first book is so strong, The Wizard of Earthsea, because you have the young character Ged like on this journey, and he's super arrogant in the beginning, and he ends up doing something that follows him for the rest of his life. Like he ends up unleashing something onto the world that attaches itself to him, that will always follow him until he turns around and faces it. And that first book just has such a great, strong arc that I can't see you like reading that first one and then like not saying, oh, let me continue this entire series. And throughout the series, it deals with like different characters in Earthsea, and they kind of like interact with each other sometimes. Could not recommend it enough. Can't recommend Ursula K. Le Guin enough. Yeah, Earthsea. Wouldn't it be funny if I accidentally threw this and it like hit the camera? That would suck. So yeah, let me see. Someone says, didn't it inspire a Studio Ghibli film? Yes. And I believe the Studio Ghibli film is based off of one of these stories, Tales of Earthsea. And I have not seen that, so I do probably need to watch it. So yeah. If you like fantasy, that's definitely one that you can check out. And also, think about Earthsea. Super easy to read. I know that book looks intimidatingly big. Thanks a lot. I know that book looks intimidatingly big, but super easy to get through. Well written. And that's the thing, too. I feel like it's hard to make a big book that's easy to get through, and that is a skill. I think that if you can write a super long book that's not tedious, you're a good author. So, that was a good one. Now, I know there's a super chat that I missed while I was talking about Earthsea. Let's see. Green Shell Gamer says, sorry if you've answered this before, but do you have any thoughts on Red Rising series by Pierce Brown? I unfortunately have not read it. I have not read it. Okay, let's see what we're gonna talk about next. So, I guess we can pivot now before we talk about more books. Because I did watch Rebel Moon Part 1, the extended version. I had not seen it. Before I even talk about it, have you guys seen it? Have you guys watched Zack Snyder's Rebel Moon extended version or regular version on Netflix? Because I've heard a lot of things. You know, I waited to watch the extended version because I heard that like Netflix made him cut it, and because it was so cut, that's why it was not good apparently. So I didn't watch it, and I wanted because I wanted to give Zack Snyder a fair chance. I heard that they were doing the extended one, so I've only seen the first one right now. So a couple nights ago, I did watch it. Thanks so much for joining as a member, Ranjiv. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm gonna start with, I guess, the good, I guess. And action scenes, right? Action scenes. Zack Snyder's the king of slow mo, right? And he's got 300. Like the slow mo action scenes, it all looks. I won't say it all looks really good, but a lot of it looks pretty good, right? Some of the visuals are pretty good. Some of the concepts are good, like the idea of the slain king, right? The idea of this dead king that is still like worshipped, and like they carry around this portrait of his daughter, and they take a tooth from every. That's all interesting, but it was very peripheral. So there's some interesting lore. There's some really nice action scenes, but in general, oh my god. And I'm not a Zack Snyder hater, right? I liked the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. I actually really liked the Snyder cut of Justice League. I liked it. But Rebel Moon Part 1, my god. What happened? And I thought that the director's cut was supposed to be like the version of it that's like, oh, this is what it actually was supposed to be, and the reason everyone hated on the first one was because it was too cut apart. But jeez, bro, just because you put some blood in a movie doesn't make it good. God, I feel like, and also I feel like the fans kind of ruined it by comparing it to Dune. Don't compare this movie to Dune. Like, what are you doing? Yeah, so it was really bad. The plot was essentially like a worse version of A Bug's Life from Pixar. If you've ever seen Pixar, where it's like you have the ants that are like working really hard, and then the grasshoppers come and they're like, "You need to make us all this food," and the ants are like, "Oh no, but if we give you this food, then we'll starve." And so one of the ants goes off and has to get like a team of people together, like a ragtag team, to help like fight the grasshoppers. That was literally the plot of Rebel Moon. It was literally the plot of A Bug's Life. It was A Bug's Life. Zack Snyder ripped off A Bug's Life from Pixar, from Disney. Like, so, and then it wasn't even, God, I don't know if it was just the extended version, but the opening, just every single scene in this movie. Went on for way too long, and I don't know if that's just because of the extended version, but like I said, I watched the extended version because that's the one people were saying you need to watch the extended version because the original one is not what Zack Snyder wanted. So I watched the extended version, and what I got was an extended version of The Bug's Life, except worse. Um, and I just felt really bad for everyone involved. Just everyone involved. I feel so bad for all of these actors because this is. I feel so bad that Netflix wasted their money on this because I think that Zack Snyder can do better than this, right? Like, also recently I watched Watchmen. I watched Zack Snyder's Watchmen. It's not as bad as everyone says it is, right? And I like I said, the Justice League, Zack Snyder cut. I like it. I like Zack Snyder in general. This just was not it. And I'm gonna watch part two, at some point, maybe tonight or tomorrow. But I'll let you see. I'll let you know if it's any better. But like the first one, it's not good. Absolutely bland characters that you don't have the time to get to know, which is crazy because the movie's damn near 4 hours long, the extended version, and I still don't get to know the characters. The main character is a wooden stick. Um, and as these other characters are introduced, it's like they all have their one moment to fight, and everyone else like stands back and watches them fight like a video game or something. There's a part of it where this one character with the girl with the lightsabers, they're like clearly lightsabers, but they can't say, where she's fighting like this spider creature, and she's like almost dead, and like the one guy is trying to help save this like little kid, and then he's almost getting killed, and no one else is helping. Everyone else is just standing back while she's fighting this crazy spider woman, and I'm just like, what? It's just like I said, I don't like hating on things that people like, but it's not a good movie, unfortunately. Um, Unfortunately, it wasn't good. Unfortunately, it wasn't good. And I was excited for Rebel Moon. Maybe the second one is good. Um, I, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you like that movie. So that's all I'll say about it. But yeah, Rebel Moon. It's not going to be one that I'm going to be recommending. I think that pretty much. Oh, this might hurt. I think that pretty much any of the Star Wars sequels are better. You know, I would honestly have to watch Rise of Skywalker again to be sure. But if somebody was like, you got to watch this movie, you've got to watch Rise of Skywalker, or you've got to watch Rebel Moon again, I think I'm gonna go with Rise of Skywalker just because it's freaking shorter, and so the torture will be like less extended. So, you know. And here's the thing: people think that I hate Star Wars. I like Star Wars. I wish I could shake this vibe, this vibe that people think that I hate Star Wars so much, because I enjoy Star Wars in general. I really do, but I feel like I accept Star Wars for like what it is, which is just like fun space schlock, where it doesn't have to be like super serious and it doesn't have to make a lot of sense really, but it's like fun because you get to watch the battles and the ships and the funny characters. To me, that's what Star Wars is. And I think a lot of people like in this day and age like expect so much from Star Wars, and I'm like, why do you expect this from Star Wars? Like Star Wars is always just been like the fun. And I enjoy Star Wars. I mean, I feel like people think that I don't like it because I'm just honest about like, I don't know, of where I think it exists. I'm honest about what I think it is. Let's see. Someone says, how is it possible that during the production nobody can see that it's so bad? I don't know. There were several times during the production of that movie, Rebel Moon, where I was like, I don't understand how this continued. Like the dialogue. Oh, wow, the dialogue was bad, bro. The dialogue was bad. Um, yeah. So, let me see. Did I take notes on anything else? Because I had some books that I definitely wanted to cover. I think I talked about the ones that I definitely wanted to talk about. Someone says Star Wars is a fairy tale. Yeah, and that's great. I actually love fairy. I have books of fairy tales. I got that huge Alice in the Wonderland tome. I love fairy tales. So, yeah. AK says, Quinn, we gotta chat Star Trek sometimes. Anytime. Anytime, you know it. You know I love me some Star Trek, even though I have not seen the most recent season of Strange New Worlds. So I do need to get into that. Let me see. What else? What else does this library have to offer? Oh, I do got some manga. That's a manga. Let's see. Whoa, yeah. All right, so first one we're going to talk about. Oh, I mean to grab this one. Homunculus. Have you guys heard of this? Have you seen this? Have you heard of this? Have you read this? So this is a cool one, right? So you got this guy who is down on his luck. He's living in his car. He's hit rock bottom, and this eccentric rich guy comes up to him, and he's like, "Hey, you want some money? I can give you money, but what you got to do is you got to let me drill a hole in your head. It's not gonna kill you. It might make you go insane, but you gotta let me do it, right?" And basically, what it is apparently this is a practice, or at least ostensibly in the book series. I don't know if this is real, but there's a practice that shamans used to do in the past where they would drill holes in their head, and it was supposed to open up the mind to the other realm. It was supposed to open up the mind to the esoterica. It was that's what it was supposed to do. So this guy is like kind of a scientist, and he wants to do an experiment on this homeless guy. So the guy lets him do it, and essentially what happens is when he covers his, I think, right eye and looks only through his left eye, he can see people for what they really are. He sees like a representation of like who they really are on the inside, right? For one example, like he comes across like this crime mob boss guy, like this really mean guy, right? But when he looks at this guy who's just like this towering huge guy, what he sees is a little kid in a robot suit that has a knife that's constantly cutting his own finger, that's constantly hurting himself. So it's like he's seeing a representation of what is actually on the inside. And because he can see it, he's able to reach out and kind of like help this guy. And then like this guy like breaks down into tears, like this super like badass tough guy just like breaks down because like someone is actually seeing what he really is on the inside. So yeah, that's what Homunculus is about. I got this from Barnes and Noble, and I read it super quick in like one night. I have not gone back and gotten any of the other ones, but man, it was a great read. If you like manga, it's a good one right there. So great read, Homunculus. I know there's like a bunch more of these, so it's one of those that just keeps going, like manga tends to do. Okay, so that one, that's Homunculus. Big recommend. And next on the manga, we got Censor, Junji Ito. Now, I love me some Junji Ito. I don't know if you guys can see that row of Junji Ito. Yeah, like there. It's there. I had a bunch of his stuff. And I really liked this one because it took me for a surprise, right? So I didn't know what it was going to be about. I just picked it up and I was just like, I'm just going to read this. And it's about the Akashic Records. And it's like this weird take on the Akashic Records. Now, if you don't know about the Akashic Records, Akashic Records. So I'm just going to read like a definition of it. In the religion of Theosophy and the spiritual movement called Anthroposophy, the Akashic Records are a compendium of all universal events, thoughts, words, emotions, and intent ever to have occurred in the past, present, future, in terms of all entities and life forms. So you have this girl who encounters this like weird village where like everyone is connected by what looks like hair, but it's not really hair because it's like too thin. So that's what's kind of on the cover. Seeing that? But that golden hair, like they're all connected by it. And it turns out at some point that these people in the village have come into contact with the Akashic Records. But the Akashic Records, they aren't like, it's not like a tome. It's like this kind of malignant Lovecraftian force. It's kind of like it's madness itself. Like anyone that touches it is driven mad. So yeah, um, I don't know. Censor was just like a really nice, creepy story, and it's great because it's got it's the art of Junji Ito. So Junji Ito is just he's kind of on another level as far as like art. And this is also a really short one. It's a quick read. Scary, Lovecraftian, freaky, weird. You're always gonna get the freaky, weird kind of Lovecraftian when it comes to Junji Ito. So that's a good one. This was a fun one because it took me by surprise, and I didn't realize that it was going to be about the Akashic records. I didn't know what it was going to be about at all, so it was a lot of fun to like dive into something that was totally unexpected. Now, let me see. So I got the chat over there, but that's super far away from me, so let me look at it on my phone. You should make a Junji Ito video. I should, right? I've got a lot of it. Someone says Uzumaki is a crazy one too. Like Uzumaki is like one of the most Lovecraftian ones. Right? So Uzumaki Spiral of Horror. That's a Junji Ito manga, and essentially it's about this little town that becomes infected with a shape. It's a spiral, and it starts showing up everywhere and affecting everything in really strange ways. It's making people go insane. It's making people like change into different things, and eventually, like the whole book just becomes like this super what's the word? This kind of like abstract spiral, and you have the main two characters going down into like this eternal spiral. It's weird and creepy. It's kind of written like it's kind of written like it's a series of short stories like set in this town, but following the same girl. But it's like dealing with like different events, dealing with different freaky events that occur in the town. So that's Uzumaki. Definitely recommend that one, Uzumaki, for sure, along with Censor. Along with Censor. Let's see. There's a lot of comics too that I've got over here, right? So I've got Black Science, Rick Remender, who did Low. I think I did a YouTube video on Low, right? So if you haven't watched that video, definitely check it out if you're interested in Low. Like Low is a great one by Rick Remender. About it takes place like 1,000,000 years in the future. The sun has expanded. Mankind has moved to under the ocean. Mankind has evolved in a bunch of different ways. Low is, I really love. If you like philosophical science fiction, Low is probably for you. And then there's Black Science, which is a newer Rick Remender, very popular, sci-fi. You can check out that one too. Anything Rick Remender is gonna be good. And I also mentioned Saga Brian K. Vaughan. That one's more like sci-fi, fantasy, very adult, very adult. It's not one that you can like read with your kids or anything, but check out Saga. Let's see. Why is Hyperion so hard to read? I had to put it down and picked up Dune for the first time, and I'm devouring it. I usually, to be honest, I usually hear the opposite. I usually hear people say that Dune is more difficult to get into and to read than Hyperion. And I don't know what I think. I think that I think they're written pretty differently. I don't know. Maybe it's something about the way Dune kind of just drops you in. Right, Dune, you're just like on Caladan. You got this weird witch crone that's coming to Paul Atreides, and you don't know what's going on. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty intriguing opening, as opposed to, I guess, the Hyperion opening where you just got like a guy sitting in his ship like thinking about stuff. So I guess maybe Dune has the better opening. But I think that Hyperion in general, I feel like, is the more approachable book. I think in general, I do think so. He says, I just really like Herbert's writing style. Yeah, that makes sense. And thank you, Carl Karsnark, for linking that Low video. Are we quiet on the Western Front? Says, hi, Quinn's Ideas. Thank you for turning me on to Three Body Problem. I recently purchased the trilogy, and this enabled to read more books. I think it's great that you're spreading the joy of literacy. Oh, thank you for joining me here. Um, Thank you. Let's see. Hyperion is 4 books. Yes, Robert Talida. Hyperion is 4 books. You've got Hyperion, you've got Fall of Hyperion, you've got Endymion and the Rise of Endymion, which take place um, way, 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 way after the first 2 books. So there's a big time jump, kind of like what God Emperor does, kind of like it's a time jump. And then after the time jump, there's even more kind of esoteric, I would say eschatological ideas as well. Dealing with like ideas surrounding the numinous, with the main character girl who's like kind of like a Jesus figure. So definitely like I think Dan Simmons was definitely interested in the numinous, and he's definitely interested in Christianity because I think even the first Hyperion book has some religious imagery and Christian imagery and Christian themes, right? You got like priest, you've got the cruciform, um, so yeah. But I think these ideas kind of come to fruition definitely in Endymion and Rise of Endymion with the character Ania, because Ania is clearly a Jesus figure. I think Jesus himself is specifically referenced in the Hyperion books too. Like it's something about on the cross, Jesus actually moved into the void which binds, and that's how he projected himself into the future so that his disciples could see him. And it's like a whole thing. So yeah, definitely Dan Simmons was interested in like the esoteric stuff and the numinous and eschatology and all that stuff. And like I said, those ideas kind of graduate in the second half of the series. What's your opinion on the Brian Herbert Dune series? Um, well, I have done a video on what I think about the Brian Herbert books. Um, they're fun. I mean, the Machine Crusade ones are okay. Um, I have not read like the last 3 that have come out just because it's like, come on, man, stop. But in general, I think there's some ones that can be fun if you just if you're not going in and expecting like a Frank Herbert experience. It's a totally different writing style. You can tell that the purpose behind the writing is different. I think that's what really shows is that the purpose behind the writing is different. Whereas like Frank Herbert is writing because he really really has something to say about humankind and where we are and where we're going. And then I feel like the Brian Herbert books were written for a different reason. And I'm not going to say what I think that reason is because I'm not in his mind, but I don't know if they're written with the same intent as the Frank Herbert stuff because it just feels so different. Gola Muad'Dib says, I like reading a bit of everything. Conan, Lovecraft, and Lord of the Rings and Dune are my go-to reads. That's some good stuff right there. Quinn, did you read sci-fi as a kid? Dark Materials, Wrinkle in Time. Do you remember your early sci-fi or fantasy books? Um, well, fantasy. I mean, like Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like the Aragon books, Series of Unfortunate Events. Not really fantasy, but kind of. I really liked Joseph Delany, Last Apprentice. I think that's one that's like not very well known. I always cite like City of Ember as like the first book that I read, and I was like, oh, this is kind of sci-fi. And I'm sure I read other ones. City of Ember by I'm blanking on the name. Dupre, yeah, Dupre, I think is who wrote. What's the name? City of Ember author. Is Dupre? Yeah, Jean Dupre. Yeah, yeah. City of Ember. So yeah, I read a lot of stuff. I read a lot of stuff, and I always say like when I was a kid, I don't think I really was thinking about things in terms of like, oh, now I'm reading sci-fi, now I'm reading fantasy. It was just like, oh, this is fun, so I'm gonna read this. Someone says Harry Potter. I'm too old for this chat and earliest reads. Yeah, I mean Harry Potter was coming out when I was, I don't know, when did the first Harry Potter book come out? Like 99, so I would have been 5 years old. So yeah, I was right around that time to be like, so yeah, I was into it. Yeah, I was definitely into the Harry Potter books. I definitely was a part of the generation of like Harry Potter kids when there was like that obsession with Harry Potter. Like, yeah, absolutely. Someone says I've been reading Children of Ruin. Good one. Have you read the Gene Wolf on your shelf yet? Sorry, I already asked. Book of the New Sun. Yes, but Book of the New Sun is one of those things where it's like, I don't feel qualified to comment on it because it's like there's a lot to it, and I've only been through it like once, so I gotta reread it because I know it's one of those series that you've got to really look into it for it to click into place. And I know it's super beloved. Um, so yeah, it's a lot. It's one of those series where it's kind of like sci-fi disguised as fantasy, or fantasy disguised as sci-fi. Um, but yeah, like I said, yeah, I would recommend it if you're into the deciphering thing. If you're into deciphering what you're reading, it's if you think Hyperion is difficult to read, Jesus, Book of the New Sun is a hard one to get through. Not because it's bad, just because it's a lot and it doesn't give you a lot of help on like explaining what the heck is going on. Yeah. Speaking of science fiction disguised as fantasy, or fantasy disguised as sci-fi, you know, in the corner down there we've got the David Weber. We've got the David Weber book series there. That starts with Armageddon Reef, right? And that is essentially a science fiction series. That is essentially, I think it's a fantasy series disguising itself as a sci-fi series. Like, it opens up and you know there's this threat that's coming after humanity, so we have to go to this one planet, we have to forget all of our history, and we basically go back to like this feudal society. And that's where that's where all the books take place. We haven't gotten back into space yet, like all the way through those books. It's like, and we're on this planet and it's like a feudal society, and most people, the vast majority of people, have no idea that we came out of space, right? So they think it's just we're living in this medieval fantasy world, and there's like a lot of epic space battles, and not space battles, epic like ocean battles, right? Yeah, it's essentially a fantasy series wrapped up in a sci-fi series. So if you're interested in that kind of thing, check out those. But I will warn you that they do kind of go on and 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 on, and kind of don't stop, and they haven't stopped yet, and they're not even finished. But at least he's still writing them, right? He hasn't like stopped, right? He's still writing them. But yeah. Do you like Mass Effect? So what? Someone says, what's the title? The first book in the series is called Armageddon Reef. Armageddon Reef is the first book in the series, and I have done a video about that first book. What am I saying? Yeah, Armageddon Reef is the first book in the series, and I have done a video about that first book. So yeah, you should be able to find the rest of the series by going from that one and seeing what's up. Do you like Mass Effect? I've never played that game, but I always hear about Mass Effect and I think Halo for like the sci-fi book references. Like there's a lot of references to like Dune and Hyperion in some of these. Yeah, but I'm not like a epic shooter type game player. You know, the only game of that type that I really get into is maybe like No Man's Sky. Like No Man's Sky is to me like a really like that one. I like Mars. What's it called? Surviving Mars. It's one of my favorite games. Sim City, Sims. I like strategy games. I'm not really like a shooter type guy. I'm not really like an adventure game type guy. I like Stardew Valley, play Minecraft, Story of Seasons. Someone says Dead Space is great sci-fi. Interesting. Good night, Gabriel. I'll catch you later. Someone says if you're looking for a game to play, I recommend Elden Ring. If you want fleshed out fantasy world, it is one of the best. See, isn't Elden Ring kind of difficult? I have heard that Elden Ring is kind of stressful and not easy to play. Which I feel like that would be my problem with trying to play it. I would get like, I don't want to do this. I don't know if I'm the type of person that enjoys that particular type of challenge in a game, right? That's why I say for Surviving Mars, because if it's like a challenging game where I'm like trying to allocate resources and like keep a community on Mars alive, to me that's like super engaging. But like if it's like I'm evading like this boss and I'm like fighting monsters and going in dungeons and doing all that stuff, I don't really play those types of games anymore. I think the last game of that type that I really like played, like really played, is probably Skyrim, because that came out when I was in high school and I played the heck out of Skyrim. But yeah, I never played StarCraft. Carl Karstark says George R. R. Martin wrote the basic lore for Elden Ring as well. Lots of similar themes and motives between the two motifs. Yeah, that's interesting. I did know about that. I had heard about that. Quinn, what books have you reread the most? I will say a very comforting series for me. I've got all of these over there. A series of unfortunate events. I find myself going back to these books from my childhood. I don't know, because you see how this is the first one, so it's very thin. But you see how thin these are. Very easy to read. There's something extremely comforting about them because they're from my childhood, and I don't know. There's good books. They're just good books. I've said before that I don't care for the Netflix show as much because of the overabundance of freaking Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf. I'm like, they're showing him too much, and he's not scary. But I go back to these books. I do. I will go back to these books and just like read them, and they still hold up. They're so funny. They're so good. They're entertaining. I like them a lot. Let's see what else. Dune. I've read Dune, I don't know, more times than I can count. And then I'm obviously always going back in it and like pulling quotes and whatever. Read Dune a bunch. Let's see. Oh, the Song of Ice and Fire books, George R. R. Martin, I've read those several times. So yeah, that's an example of something that I've read multiple times, yeah. Let's see what we're talking about. What sci-fi book has the worst scenario for humanity, in your opinion? Let's see. Well, Three Body Problem is ultimately optimistic, but that is pretty like terrifying as well. I mean, there is the Killing Star. The Killing Star. Do I have that? That's somewhere around here. The Killing Star. Where are you? Ah. The Killing Star. This is one that I've also done a video on. This is, yeah, we basically don't stand a chance. We basically don't stand a chance in this one. We get absolutely screwed. So check this one out, because yeah, if you want one where it's like, God, this is bleak. Yeah, well, this one's about I mean, at least in this one we get kind of taken out pretty quickly, kind of in the beginning of it. So yeah, The Killing Star. That's a good one. Yeah, so I wouldn't want to live in that universe. I will say, because it's like Three Body Problem, but except we have no warning at all, and it's just like, now we're just screwed. We're just screwed. Sorry. Now we can do about it. So yeah, that one's good. Do they really? Paperback copies of The Killing Star go for a lot? Okay, I will say that when I first posted my video to The Killing Star, one of the authors commented on the video, right? one of the authors, right? So you got Charles Pellegrino and George Zabrowski. One of the authors commented on the video, but I can't find the comment. I think they deleted their comment for some reason. But like, what was weird, because I didn't know, it was so weird because I tend not to look at comments if I can help it, but I didn't notice the comment for like months. And then one day I like look and I'm like, that's the guy that wrote the book that's commenting on my video. And I click the heart button, but then I go back to that video and I look and I can't find the comment anymore. I'm like, what happened to that guy's comment? But yeah, I do think that when I put up that video, it did kind of create an influx of people buying the Killing Star, and that could be why it's kind of more expensive now, I think. Let me see what's going on here. Okay, there we go. That could have something to do with it, I think, maybe. Potentially. Because it was already kind of like going out of print. And I don't... Can you buy the hard... Let me look it up. Where's the hardcover at? Killing Star hard cover. Oh, it is... Oh, God. Yeah. It's definitely pricey. I did not spend $100 on it. Like, it looks like you can't get it for cheaper than $100 now. I definitely did not spend $100 on it. So wow, yeah. So the Audible book is on. Yeah, so it's on Audible now. So that's cool. So yeah. It'd be probably cheaper if you're okay with audiobooks to listen to the audiobook rather than like trying to get this copy. Though that makes me want to take better care of this. I need to. So let me take off the desk cover because wow, you can really see. It's actually pretty shocking because this is definitely a used copy that I have here. It's pretty great that it even has the dust jacket still. Oh, that's pretty impressive. A lot of older copies, you buy older copies of books, and the dust jacket won't be there. So, that is neat. That is neat. Oh, someone says the jaunt is pretty horrifying. Yeah, that's one of Stephen King's story, and it's in one of those big tomes of Stephen King short stories. I don't remember which one. I don't remember which one right now, but the Jaunt, that's one that we did on Quinn's Ideas as well. That's a really cool one because it's like, so you have let's see. Oh no! I knocked over my Red Bull. Okay, so you've got this oldie but a goodie. This is like from the 1920s. 1920s, I think, around that time. Maybe a little bit later, I don't know. This is Alfred Bester's The Star Is My Destination. Right? And so you got this guy who is basically left behind to die, and he's seeking revenge, and he's kind of like teleporting around through this like personal device. And it's called jaunting, right? So to teleport, you jaunt from place to place, right? So Stephen King took that idea and wrote a short story called The Jaunt, which is about mankind. We create this technology that allows us to teleport across space and time. But the problem is when you send something living, they come back and they immediately die. They go crazy and they die. And they basically realize that they have to put them to sleep, and then the effects are fine. It doesn't do the crazy insanity and death effects. But basically, what they realize is that when consciousness is jaunted, when you're teleporting across space-time, your consciousness actually exists in a vacuum, in nothingness, for essentially an eternity. In that instant, you experience eternity. So if you are awake, you're going to be there forever, right? So, whoops. So when you come back, I know it's kind of paradoxical that it's forever, but you still come back. When you come back, because you've been exposed to like this emptiness and madness for an eternity, you can't handle it. And you like whatever is maintaining your life, keeping you conscious, just like collapses. It drives you totally insane. So that's what the jaunt is, and it's really freaky and scary. Highly recommend the Quinn's Ideas video on it, by the way. So yeah, check that out. Someone says Snow Crash was written before there was VR. Absolutely was. So was Neuromancer. So was Neuromancer. Yeah, yeah. The Jaunt has one of the freakiest endings ever. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's definitely a freaky ending to the Jaunt. And that's my thing. I'd be super afraid to teleport. You know, I'm kind of like Barclay from Star Trek Next Generation, where it's like the transporters. No, I'm not gonna be dematerialized and put back together somewhere else. Because how can I be even sure that's me? You know what I mean? It's so creepy. The idea of teleportation. There's a lot of horror to be explored with that idea. By the way, just while we're here, how are you guys liking my new camera setup? Can you guys tell that I'm using a new camera? I got the new Sony, and I think that it's really good. I could never stream with my old camera because it overheated anytime you tried to do any type of 4K situation, and the battery was always dying. So you guys liking this? You guys liking this setup for streams? Because I'm thinking like this looks pretty good. I think this looks pretty good, and I think it's much better than me just like sitting in my office like with a white wall behind it. So I think anytime we're going to be doing streams, we're going to be in here. There's a nice vibe. I think the camera works really great. I think that the sound is really good. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good, and I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah. Where was I? Yeah, the Jaunt, Stephen King. Yeah. Check out The Jaunt by Stephen King. It's in one of those books of short stories. I'm sure if you Google it, Google would be able to tell you. Okay. Oh, I remember what I was going to show you. I think I've shown you guys this one before, but I'm really proud of. I really like this particular copy. Let's see. So I know I promised this video like a while ago, but you know, it's a process. You know, because I'm moving my videos in a different direction, and I hope you guys have been enjoying that. Where I'm kind of trying to take in, you know, the cultural and social context of the time that the books were, you know, written in before I like talk about like what the book actually is. And I think that just takes more time and more research. And I'm trying to create these longer form videos. That's what my Forever War video was. And I truly think my Forever War video is one of my best videos. So that's also what I'm doing with this mini documentary that I'm working on with Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive, as well as Neuromancer. So yeah, these are the sequels to Neuromancer, right? Neuromancer gives birth to the sci-fi genre, and I'm going to explore its sequels. Because that's a thing in itself, you know what I mean? It's very interesting to see like how he chose to continue these ideas and concepts, and where the ideas found in these books came from and what inspired them. Because when it comes to like authors and history and time passing, everyone is inspired by everyone else, right? You can inspire someone, and then 5 years later something they do inspires you. So there's like this constant circling. Yes, we will be talking about Johnny Mnemonic Gustav as well in that particular video, but I don't know if I've ever shown off this particular copy of Neuromancer, which is why I got this. This is my stunning Easton Press copy of Neuromancer. Look at that thing. Is that not a beaut? Is that not beautiful? It's got this certificate of authenticity. It's like signed by William Gibson, right? I really like, and then also the book itself, signed by William Gibson. So I think that's super cool. Really well bound book. I really like well bound books, copies of books. I went to Antique Trove the other day, and they had some really nice Easton Press bound book copies, and I thought, well, I'm probably never gonna read Euripides, but it's a cool book for $10. So I did grab that, and I grabbed like a copy of The Count of Monte Cristo. So that was fun. I'm probably never gonna read those, But they look so good on the shelf right there. And then also the Scarlet Letter, taking us back to high school. You guys remember this book in high school? Portrait of Dorian Gray. This is actually funny because I'm actually rewatching Penny Dreadful right now. Great show, actually. Penny Dreadful is so underrated, and I actually forgot how good it was. And Dorian Gray is kind of a big part of that show, so yeah, that's been a lot of fun to rewatch. Someone says, Monte Cristo is my personal least favorite book. Super minority opinion. Yeah, so yeah. Dorian Gray, super lovely copies. Super nice. Sure, I think I've shown this one before. This is the Folio Society, Philip K. Dick, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep / A Scanner Darkly. It's like both of them, and like you flip it upside down, it's like something different. But yeah, these guys at Folio Society, they really know how to bind together a book. If you don't know, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is the book that the Blade Runner universe is based off of. It's pretty different from the Blade Runner movies. I think the themes, it's pretty different thematically. I actually did a podcast episode on Blade Runner with James over on Cosmic Chronicles. So if you want to like watch that, we talk about Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, and we talk about Blade Runner. We kind of compare it book to movie. And I think that both the Blade Runner movies and the book are all really great for really different reasons. I think they're all great, and I think they're all different. Right? I feel like Villeneuve gets unfairly maligned by some people that really like the original Blade Runner movie, which is a great film, obviously. But I do think that Villeneuve added ideas, and I think that in a lot of ways, Blade Runner 2049 is more, I think, like the book than the original Blade Runner, which is pretty interesting. Like, for instance, I think that what's her name? The android girl in here, is it Rachel in the book too? I can't remember. I really can't. But I think that the android girl in the book is way more similar to the android girl in 2049 than the version that appears in the original movie, who's like a lot sweeter, and it seems a lot more empathetic. So I think that's a kind of a major difference. Will I be reviewing more Philip K. Dick? I don't see why not. Yes, if you're liking, please hit the like button. Please hit the like button. It really helps out the stream a lot. Is Cosmic Chronicles series done? No, Cosmic Chronicles is coming back next month. We've got episodes lined up with other YouTubers. We've got an episode lined up with Daniel Green, where we're going to talk sci-fi. I've got an episode. I'm trying to get my episode lined up with Alt Shift X, where we're going to talk about Dune 3, and we're going to talk about like what the potential of Dune 3 could be. So that Alt Shift X, that one's coming up soon. I'm going to have one with Bibliotheory. Friend of mine, YouTuber, check out his channel. That one we're going to talk about Hyperion. And I'm trying to get Comic Book Girl 19 on the podcast to talk about the Forever War. I hope she is willing to do it. I know she's got a lot going on with her documentary that she's working on, so we're trying to do that. My friend Angie Speaks. We're gonna work on a Evangelion episode together. I just started Evangelion, so we're gonna work on the Evangelion episode of Cosmic Chronicles. So it's all coming back, all lined up. We're getting people scheduled. So yeah, and it's gonna be super fun. A bunch of different YouTubers. We have to reformat a little bit. When is my next graphic novel coming out? We're aiming for October. Really, really aiming for October. If we have to push it back, I will let you guys know weeks in advance. But we're aiming for October, and we think it's gonna work. I think it's gonna work. I'm hoping it's gonna be out by October. That we're gonna be able to start printing at the very least by October. I'm hoping. So that's what we're doing. Yeah. So the podcast is definitely coming back. The Lie Behind the Stars moving along, and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. Looking for a fun October. And also, we got Dune the Sisterhood coming out in November, so that's gonna be pretty epic. Dune the Sisterhood. Quinn, thanks for the amazing book recommendations. Thank you for existing and being so nice. I really love the niceness of the people that follow me. You guys are super nice. Not everybody's nice. Yeah, that's why I tend to. I want to stay positive as possible, because I don't like saying negative things about things that people like. I know we talked about Rebel Moon a little bit and the Dark Matter book by Blake Crouch, but I try to tend to stay positive because I know a lot of people like a lot of different things for a lot of reasons. I don't want to crap on anything anybody likes. I don't like to offend people. Yeah, because some fandoms online are pretty crazy. You kind of have to steer clear, right? So I know like to steer clear of the Star Wars community because it's a little bit crazy. You guys are a little bit insane. It's okay. I love you guys. A little bit crazy though. And then the Song of Ice and Fire 2 community. It's like you guys are a little bit crazy. I love the Song of Ice and Fire, but the community is a little crazy. So it's best to steer clear. It's best to steer clear of certain communities. But I feel like we have our own little niche here on Quinn's Ideas. We have our own little niche. So like we all know each other. The podcast is called Cosmic Chronicles. Is the video lagging behind the audio? Is that happening? I wouldn't know because I can't see the stream. Potentially, because it was already kind of like going out of print. Oh, it seems like it is. I don't know when that started happening. I don't know how to fix it either. But we have been going. It's not. Okay. It's not lagging for them. So, okay. But we have been going for about 2 hours. So we are ready to we are going to get ready to wind down, and we are going to. You guys got any more like recommendations or suggestions? Anything you guys want to talk about? Because yeah. And I think that in the future we can do more of these kind of like sit in the library and chat about what I'm reading and what I have read and what you guys are reading and what you guys want to talk about, because I think this is really fun. And I figure I've got this whole library that makes such a good set, and it doesn't make sense not to stream in the coolest room in my house, in my opinion. Library that makes such a... You shut up. I wasn't asking you to talk. Looks like I did get a super chat. Where did you get this shirt? Oh, I think this shirt comes from Express. I think this is an Express shirt. So I got this from the mall. And yeah, that's where it came from. Oh, the globe. Everyone's like the globe. You guys like this globe? Yeah. So this globe is one of my favorite pieces in this library, right? Align it. Open that up. You got like a nice decanter in here. Got my nice Star Trek decanter. Pour a little bit of that in there. There we go. Check it. Not that I drink very often, but it's pretty sweet to have, right? That's pretty sick, right? I think I've always wanted one of these because of The Sims. Isn't that great? Yeah, this is synthahol. It's synthahol. It's nothing to worry, nothing to be concerned about. Synthahol. I love Quinn infinitely more after seeing the globe contents. Romulan ale is blue. Oh, speaking of Romulan, this has nothing to do with the Romulans. Alien Romulus, though, and I do appreciate the Alien movies, especially like the modern ones for the references to Star Trek. I feel like Alien Covenant had like 10 references to Star Trek. Prometheus had references to Star Trek, and I can't help but see like Alien Romulus as a reference to Star Trek. I don't know, because of the Romulans. Um, but yeah, we watched Alien last night, the original 1979 Alien, and it's so good. It's so good. I mean, I already knew it was good, but it's incredible how much the 1979 version of Alien holds up, right? It's so good as a horror movie. Great puppet work, great like body acting from the guy that was in like that xenomorph costume. Just everything about that movie is so perfect. And like watching it again, I was remembering like watching it for the first time as a kid, and I was remembering how I had no idea what was happening in this movie. Like when the guy gets infected with the face hugger, right? I think when I was a kid, my kid brain is thinking like, oh, he's gonna turn into the alien and become the alien, and that's what's gonna happen. So when you have the scene where they're just like eating dinner, and then all of a sudden he starts coughing, and his chest explodes, and a screwed up alien creature comes out of it, little me was a bit freaked out because it's not what I thought was gonna happen. It's not at all what I thought was gonna happen. So just a great movie, great movie, and it was fun watching it again because it had been a while since I've seen it. So yeah, tonight we're gonna watch Aliens, and then we're gonna watch Alien 3, and we're gonna watch Alien Resurrection. We're probably gonna do Alien versus Predator. We're just like gonna get ready to watch Alien Romulus, which is directed by the guy that did Don't Breathe, I hear. So looking for some excitement. Oh yeah, don't tell me about it, Tweety Bird. Prometheus. You know, it's funny rewatching Alien. You do start to see the plot holes with Prometheus glare more brightly when you rewatch Alien, because it's clearly not a prequel to Alien. I mean, it is ostensibly, but it's like also not, because it just doesn't line up right. There's so much that just doesn't line up. Like the whole nature of the engineer suit, right? In the original Alien movie, it's very clearly like a decaying body, right? And in Prometheus, it's a suit. So, and I do really like Prometheus as a movie, but it reminds me of when it was first coming out, and Ridley Scott kept saying, "Oh, this isn't a sequel. This isn't a prequel. This isn't a prequel to Alien. It's not a prequel." I get why he was at first saying it was a prequel, because there's a lot, there's plot holes to consider if you consider it as a prequel. So that's the thing. Oh yeah, Alien and The Thing both aged well. The Thing, I actually watched that one semi recently too. I think that was last year though. The Thing, great, still great. Definitely watch it. Like if you've never, if you're like if you've not seen some of these old movies and you've just like heard of them, definitely give The Thing a try. Definitely give Alien and Aliens a try. Absolutely. Cyber Shaman says, "Can you recommend some books, some book shelving manufacturers? Thank you so much for your analysis of various sci-fi stories. Yes, Balaji Badeo, as in Xeno, was underrated. Alien series is great. Are you watching the assembly cut of Alien 3? What do you mean the assembly cut? Is there a cut of Alien 3 that I should watch that's preferable to the theatrical version? And as far as book shelving manufacturers, these are all Sonder bookshelves. So, wait, is it Sonder or Solder? Let me look it up to be sure real quick. Oh, so these are Solder bookcases. So that's Sauder. Sauder. Solder bookcases. And they're really good. Really nice looking. Huge pain in the ass to put together, I will say that. I put them all together myself. kind of a pain. You definitely need the power drill. Definitely need the power drill. They don't tell you that you need a power drill, but you need it. Like the first couple ones that I put together, I didn't have the power drill, and I was like, my hand is on fire. Like I had carpal tunnel. Like, so yeah, power drill if you're gonna get these for sure. Let's see. Cosmic Chronicles I watched. Yeah, definitely check out the Cosmic Chronicles podcast. Like I said, we got episodes lined up. Daniel Green, All Shift X, Bibliotheory. Hopefully, Combo Girl 19 can come on and talk about Forever War with us. And yeah. How long did it take you to collect all these books? It's been years, right? Ever since I became a YouTuber full time and realized that, like, I can write off books on taxes because this is now my job. So yeah, I've been collecting them, so it's really good. Yeah. No, I will not be covering any Song of Ice and Fire material in the near future. I mean, until if Winds of Winter comes out, then I'll consider more a Song of Ice and Fire stuff. But right now, I tend to steer clear. I have not watched the new season of House of the Dragon. Um, that's the thing. It's not like I'm never gonna watch it. I mean, I'll watch it eventually, maybe, but I don't have to watch it now. I kind of hate that. I feel like in this day and age, where kind of everyone's obsessed with watching everything as soon as it comes out. You have to watch it now. You can't. It's gonna be on HBO forever, guys. It's not gonna be deleted off of HBO. It's gonna exist. So I can watch it in 5 years, in 10 years. It's just I'm more interested in the Winds of Winter than watching the adaptation to a prequel book that I've already read. That yeah, and then it's also like just engaging with that community, just engaging with the Song of Ice and Fire community is just not something that I am interested in doing at this point, because there's just a little bit too much toxicity that floats around in that community for my taste, and I tend to just not like what I'm seeing most of the time, right? Like on Twitter and just like in general with the Song of Ice and Fire community. I don't know what it is, but it seems that particular series attracts a lot of negativity, and that is something that I have experienced when I was Ideas of Ice and Fire. That's something that like I still see happening. So for me, it's better if I just don't cover any of the material, because I don't like how the community engages with the content, and I don't like how I feel when I'm interacting with that particular community. I think that community makes me into a worse person. So yeah, that's just, it is what it is. It's not like I'm condemning the series. I'm sure it's fine. I love the fact that everybody loves House of the Dragon. I love the fact that everybody's getting into it, and I think that is great, and I love that for you guys. Is that your personal library? It is gorgeous. This is my personal library. I'm pretty proud. I love coming in here. It is a great vibe. We just showed off the globe that opens up to a bar, which is pretty player if you ask me. I like that a lot. So yeah, but we are winding down here. Oh, thank you so much, Tracy Williams, for your super chat. Let me just check that out. Quinn, have you read John Carpenter's Tales of Science Fiction? Love your book recommendations. Also, you should check out the TV show From. Okay, so Tales of Science Fiction. I didn't know John Carpenter had wrote books. That might sound crazy. I had no idea. I knew him like as a director. I did not know he wrote books. So yeah, I definitely would check that out. And also, you should check out the TV show From. I watched the first season of that when it first came out. What season are we on now with From? Because it definitely gave me the sense. It gave me that like Lost feeling, where it was like, this is definitely compelling. Like, this is really compelling stuff. But I would worry about it not going anywhere. You know what I mean? It gave me that sense. It gave me the sense where it's like, this is really good, and I'm like definitely very intrigued by the story, but how much meandering are you going to spend doing? And I feel like that first season in particular was a little bit meandery, and that is probably why I wasn't super like compelled to go to the second season. But is it worth watching? Because if it's good, I'll definitely like get back into that, because I remember being definitely intrigued and wanting to know where it was going to go. Well, I don't think season one had a very good ending, and I'm hearing that season two didn't have a great ending. Well, that was my experience with Lost. That's why I brought up Lost, because I know some of the same people are involved. Where it's like Lost has this very compelling story on the surface. It's very, very compelling. It's like, where are we? How did we get here? Why does this even exist? And then Lost, to me personally, I don't think really went anywhere. So I was definitely worried of that. Definitely check out Tony Teflon, right? Yeah, Tony Teflon is a friend of the channel. And I know he does a lot of coverage of From. So yeah, definitely check out him if you want like more of that. More if you want some content on From, for sure. Have you read The Lord of Light or anything from Simon R. Green? Unfortunately, I have not. Is that fantasy or is that sci-fi? Did you cover the classics Blindsight, Solaris? I have covered Blindsight. Solaris, no, but Blindsight, yes. Quinn, have you seen Threshold? It was a shame it was canceled. I have not seen Threshold. Peter Dinklage, interesting. I did try and watch what was it? Beacon 23 with Lena Headey. I got through like 5 or 6 episodes of that. No particular reason that I stopped. But yeah, I did try to watch that one. Yeah, someone did tell me that the Green Man made an appearance in House of the Dragon. That's pretty cool. Green Man. Oh my god. It's Severance really in January 25? Oh, that's so long. I thought Severance was coming out this year maybe. Yeah, Severance. That's like peak sci-fi on Apple TV. Peak. Severance is one of the best Apple TV shows. Oh, Severance is so good. Severance. Can't recommend it enough. Can't recommend Severance enough. And I'm very excited for the second season. And probably gonna rewatch it all to begin with, because it's like this is why I said this when the show first came out. Like, this is why sci-fi exists, right? You take an idea that affects people today and you give it a sci-fi spin, right? Because people already work, these kind of soulless jobs where they feel like they're just like a zombie at work and they're not themselves anymore. And so this idea that you would sign up to go to this company and that you would lose the memories on the outside is so intriguing. And then the really interesting thing that the show does is, because there's like this split, you remember on the inside but you don't remember on the outside. It's like half of yourself is essentially a slave. Half of yourself is essentially a slave, and the other half doesn't know it. And they're in that half of yourself, its entire existence, it's work. So when you leave work, it's like you're just coming back in. I mean, you're actually leaving, you just don't remember what you did on the outside. It's so weird, and it's so interesting, and it's like you're torturing half of yourself. And oh god, just watch it. Trust me. If there's anything you want to trust me on, and you're looking for a cool show to watch, you're looking for something that's mind-bending and that's going to blow your mind, that's well acted, that's thought out and thoughtful, and that they absolutely thought about it, watch Severance. It's easy to watch. It's not particularly like a crazy investment that you got to get really invested in this crazy multifaceted story. It's just really good. It's really good. He's describing working in retail. Well, that's the point, right? Like, because like, I think the idea is that you're signing away. You're doing this because you don't want the memories of working, because it's boring and tedious and you hate being there. But there's still a part of you that is experiencing all of this. So you're torturing yourself because there's a part of your mind that's being tortured, and that's always going to be there. So I feel like subconsciously that suffering and pain and everything that's happening at that job is still going to manifest itself. And I wonder if the second season will get more into that idea, because I feel like that could be a big part of it as well. And like I said, I need to rewatch it again before I watch the second season. But I'm sad that it's not coming out till next year, January 17th, 2025. That's pretty sad. Someone says I would not agree to that. Couldn't pay me more. But see, that's the thing. That's what's so cool and weird about the concept behind the show, because like the me sitting here at home wouldn't even remember anything that happened at work. But there's a version of me too at the same time that only remembers working at work. So they're always at, like, that part of me is always at work, essentially, if that makes sense to you. Just watch the show if it doesn't make sense. You'll get it just watch after watching one episode. But there's like a part of me that's always at work. That's his entire existence. So, and then there's this dilemma where like the part of me that's at work is probably like, why would I do this to myself? I can never leave. Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's horrible, 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 horrible. Someone says I do it for a week just for shits and giggles. But see, that's what about when you can't escape? You've now signed over your life to this company, and you don't even know. See, that's the other side of it too. Is that you don't even know what this company is doing to you while you're at work. You don't even know. You have no access to it because you've signed away that part of your brain. You don't even know. You don't know if they're torturing you. You don't know what they're doing to you while you're at work, because you don't remember it. You know, Severance is just, so good. Chasen says, I just wanted to say hi, I'm a fan. Some of you were watching me on the Quinn Streams channel, and the Quinn Streams channel is just kind of like an archive stream channel that keeps all my streams. But yeah. So if you've been watching this whole time and you've been enjoying the stream, hit the like button. It helps out the YouTube channel. I think we're winding down here. I don't know if there's anything I want to talk to you guys about right now. Next time, maybe we'll dive into some more manga. Next time, maybe we'll dive into some more graphic novels. We'll get more into the graphic novel section. But yeah, this has been super fun. I would take my camera and show you guys like a 360 of the library, but the only problem is like this side of the room right now is like a mess of wires, so it wouldn't look good. But yeah, I really like the vibe in this library because we kind of just finished it. We got like 360 space happening, and what I'm gonna do extra additionally is I'm just gonna fill in more of the vertical space with like, I want to like some Leonardo da Vinci sketches and like some other stuff. So yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, guys. It's been super fun, and I hope you guys had fun. I hope this stream has not been too like rambly or tedious. Like I always say, I'm not like the best streaming person because I tend to be a little bit scatterbrained. But thanks everyone for joining me here. It's been super fun, and I hope you guys have a nice day. Like I said, you guys can look forward to my video on The Thing. So as I said in the beginning, we're going to do a video on what I'm working on right now, and this will be the next thing that comes out. You've got it'll be talking about the chain of inspiration, the chain of influence, the thread that runs from At the Mountains of Madness, H.P. Lovecraft, to John W. Campbell's Who Goes There, to John Carpenter's The Thing, to Peter Watts's The Things. So we're going to be talking with the next video. We're talking about how the same story is told in different times and how the story is informed by the time period. So that's what we're going to be getting up to. So thanks everyone. Thanks for joining me here. We're going to get out of here now. I love you guys so much. It has been a pleasure. All right, now that I'm done streaming, I can do the evil satanic ritual that I was planning. Yes, always gotta do the dark magic. Let's see. Who to curse first? Oh, this one requires a human heart. Yeah, no human hearts right now. The blood of a cat, the blood of a black cat, the blood of a white cat. Alexa, turn off the lights. Oh no, we're still streaming. Oh god. No. No. They can't know about my black magic. Oh no, I've been exposed. No. Damn it. Damn it!